Cool. And then I'll put my Discord on disturb. Yeah, okay, so the first thing, I think this is just like pretty cool. It just kind of looks nice, but it takes some time to load. I'll just sort of like share screen. Whoops. Can you guys see the screen?
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, like these are okay. So a bunch of sort of smaller updates that I think just kind of make it more fun to use Mango Markets. So this one is actually deployed on alpha.mango.markets, but we have a couple of performance optimizations we have to do so that when you come here, it's like almost instant that you see the whole chart. Otherwise, you know, it's going to be kind of ugly and people will be confused. So this is pretty cool, and like that's being worked on. Again, I can't stress like how much effort it takes to build this kind of thing, especially given all the monkey patching logging that we had to do to generate this. So the other thing, and these numbers are wrong, but you know, this like share to Twitter thing that's also coming. This didn't take very long. It's also just the math is just wrong here, but it's all like being worked on, probably coming out this week. And right, let's see. Gotta make this full page. Here we go. Yeah, and the other sort of big thing, I guess Christian added it in here, the governance stuff, which, okay,
yeah.
sure, let's talk about
I just wanted to very briefly let everyone know that we're now in the deployment part for that. You have probably seen the first proposal to update SPL governance. There'll be 2 more proposals afterwards to deploy the new program and to configure everything. Probably maybe a bunch of proposals. And once they're all through, we will have the new governance with the ability to lock tokens for voting. And if you've not seen that, there's been a forum discussion about the specific config flags for like what kind of benefit you get from lockup. Maybe check that.
Я Майнкрафтер долбоёб, я дебил и долбоёб, у меня в крови Майнкрафт.
Weird. So I just got like these red things on my.
Я снимаю, блядь, Майнкрафт, у меня 47 хромосом, 47.
So how do we solve this for the long term? Let's solve this problem first.
I removed him, but yeah, long term, I don't know.
I have a suggestion. So I use Zoom quite a lot, and there's a feature that you can set up before you send the invites out that mutes everyone up on entry and also disables their camera feed, and only the host can enable that again. So there's that feature in Zoom. So, and if you guys you know, using the low end paid version, then when you have other people that also want to present, then you're just gonna give them co-hosting rights doing the Zoom session, and then switch on their camera feed and microphone, and they can share their screen and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of, okay, well, let's see. Let's like just kick them for now. I don't want this like, I mean, it's just like super, you know, puts a lot of pressure on the host, and the host is just sitting there just like approving this guy and approving that guy. You know, ideally, I think this would be solved with just, you have to deposit 1,000 mangoes and then you can get it back if you had good behavior. I think that would be cool, but like, yeah, we're not going to implement that. So
I think also we can have a host, maybe not you, just like Nikki or someone like.
He is the host. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, Nikki, maybe you become more admin in the next call, and like, yeah, a bit more power to you for now, our centralized benevolent dictator.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. We'll just try that for now. Okay. So where was I? Sorry, Christian was speaking. Yes.
Yeah, but I was done. I was just referring to the forum discussion about properties for governance that you should check out. I pasted the link in chat.
Yep.
Yeah, I proceed from there.
I just wanted Christian to give that update quickly, because I think towards the end, after we get through all the topics, we should debate. I don't know if we should debate again, and we debated it a lot, but yeah, if someone has any really strong objections to this, and also if someone wants to talk about possible fee distributions, that'd be cool. But I think we can do that towards the end. There, some people are time sensitive, don't want to spend their whole Saturday on the call. So yeah, okay. So those are some like broad general updates. Marketing, we have been doing a lot actually on the topic of, well, there's the Galaxy treasure hunt thing that Nikki has been working on, which I also don't know much about. And then there's Benson and Koei, which who are doing a lot of like community outreach in Asia. So if you guys want to fill us in on what exactly you guys are doing and like what your plans are, how it's
okay.
Yeah.
So me first. I'm very happy to join the call. Let me just introduce myself a bit. I'm Benson, FTX community partner, and I'm a crypto trader and also a crypto influencer in Asia. I once got the first place in FTX trading contest back in 2020, and I also know a bit of coding, and I have published several indicators on TradingView, and also wrote some tutorials about FTX Quanzong. Yeah, and Koei and I are both the lover of Mongo market. We really love the design, and we read all your doc, and we really think you are the true OG of the Solana DeFi system. Yeah, so we help Mongo team to build a Telegram group, and right now it has like a 1.5 thousand people in there. And Koei and I have also hosted a talk about why Mongo market is the core of Solana's DeFi ecosystem. Yeah, and we have also translated all the doc materials. Yeah, so that's pretty much what we have done so far. Yeah, so I think it's Koei's turn.
Just let me finish myself. I'm the like co-founder of the Solana Taiwan community, and I also is like a heavy DeFi user. So go through the whole DeFi 2020 in Ethereum, and then found Solana back in December 2020 because the FTX got a Bonfide IDO. So just try to figure out what's the new trend about. And then I pay attention a lot to Mango market from first stage. Like, okay, then we get the grand prize in the hackathon, and then try to play V1, V2, and then V3, and after just like try to like help try to make the whole like Solana Taiwan community understand Mango market more, because this is a core innovation and the infrastructure for the Solana for Solana ecosystem. Just like this is something really beyond the AMM and like the hot Ethereum can do. So I'm a more like a DeFi and crypto native person, and Benson is more like a trading and more like the quant person. So we talked to each other, and we found that it's like we try to bring them more. We try to like translate the dots, like, and host them for ourselves to the 1.5K member, and then do just like try to get more awareness for Mongo markets in the Asia community. Just like that's basically what who I am and what we're doing.
Cool. Yeah, and we are planning to invite you to do a tax AMA in the TG group. Yeah, because they all know they not much familiar with English, so we will help to translate all the part into Chinese. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can
100%.
arrange a time to do so. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what's your TG group like? It's is it just a community of people that you hang out with, or like what do you mean when you're trying to share with the Asia community?
Okay. Basically, I just shared the information of Mongo market, what it is in my channel. My channel has like a 20,000 followers, and I invite people who are interested in Solana's DeFi system ecosystem to join the Mongo markets TG group. Yeah. So we can share the link to you.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, so 100% we'll do an AMA. Yeah, and thanks a lot for translating the docs to Chinese. That's obviously like the first step to be able to get people on board. And RJ Peterson already done a lot of the translation of the Mango UI itself to Chinese.
Yeah.
And so I think we're well set up. I mean, so I can go on to the next topic, which is actually pretty relevant. So when you go to this, you know, when you go to this TG group, it might be useful now to have like ref links to, just like FTX has refer fees that you can get if people come to Mango using that link. So refer fees, I don't know how much you guys know. I mean, we have been talking about it in the governance channel about the refer program. But okay, at a high level, I think we talked about this actually. It might be on a recorded meeting. We talked about this, 4 or 5 months ago about like, should we do a refer program? I think, Swapman was saying we should 100% do a refer program. And some of us were saying like, but doesn't it like reduce the purity of Mango or something? And well, I don't know everyone else's opinions on this, but like, obviously you have to create this two-sided market. And yeah, the decision to do a refer program, which has to obviously pass a DAO vote. The decision to do a refer program was more like, well, you've spent all this time creating what you think is a pure product, what people you think should be using. Like, it's preferable. They'll pay lower fees. They have more sovereignty, and it's actually kind of wasteful if you do all that and you don't do whatever you can to make sure everyone knows about it. It's actually just wrong. Like, if you think one thing is good, then you should tell people about the good thing. And so, okay, that was my sort of reasoning on why we should definitely go ahead with a refer program, especially since we took a decent hit in terms of users after all the TPS issues. And we'll try it out. Like, maybe it won't work. Maybe the parameters have to be switched up. We had a lot of debate about who should, the extra fees that are now going to the refer, who should pay for that cost? Is it the makers, is it the takers? There's a lot to say there. But roughly, this is how it works. So I'll just explain it very briefly. So you have to have 10,000 mangoes to generate a refer link. And if people come to Mango and use your refer link, then they get a, right now we charge a 5 bips taker fee. So they get a 0.2 bips reduction in their fee. So they pay 4.8. And 0.8 will go to the refer, so 0.8 bips. And one basis point will go to the DAO. So the refer is getting almost as much as the DAO is getting on like every transaction. And this is as long as, this is so that people have an incentive to use a refer. You hear about something, you want to give them an incentive to actually use the link that the person who brought them to Mango Markets gave them. Now, you can another part of this is that you're automatically a self-refer if you have 10,000 mangoes. So if you yourself have 10,000 mangoes, then you automatically become your own refer. So that means you get the 0.8 bips and you get the 0.2 bips, which nets out to mean you end up paying 4 bips taker fee. So this is also kind of like a fee tier mechanism where if you have 10,000 mangoes, you're in another tier. Again, there was some skepticism. I still have skepticism about fee tiers. I think if you're really successful, they can be gamed. A lot of issues like that. But I think it's worth trying out, right? Especially on chain, a lot of these things can be gamed. There's no KYC, etc. So yeah, that's the refer. Does anyone have questions? I don't know if I explained it perfectly well. It's like a combination of fee tiers and ref program. And also, by the way, the way it'll work, we're still working out the details on the UI component. But basically, everyone can have a ref link. It's just going to go into your URL, like ref equals, and then you put your pub key. But you might want to generate a human readable a human readable link. And so we have that feature as well. So, some kind of proto name service type of thing where you can generate a human readable link. So maybe, austerity sucks would generate ref equals austerity sucks. And then he might share that on Twitter. And that'll just associate, it'll go on chain, it'll associate austerity sucks with his Mango account, and then the fees will be sent directly to his Mango account. So yeah, so we took some care to make this reasonable and cool. We'll see how it works. All right, I'm sure I don't know if everyone understood exactly what it was, but we can move on to the Galaxy because we have a lot of stuff to talk about. We can move on to the Galaxy treasure hunt, which
Daffy, there were questions in the chat.
Okay. I should be looking at the chat. I always forget. You guys can speak up. It's like the worst people unmute themselves. Just
thanks, Daffy.
No. I mean, the guys, the teenagers, and of course Henry. Yeah, so who's...
So I was doing an analysis a while ago about different decentralized derivatives exchanges. And I've seen they use a token, they use their own token to reward different incentives, or give the token as an incentive to traders for different behaviors. Might be an idea for this scenario instead of giving a share of the trading fees, because as I understand, that's basically a revenue model, right? Trading fees. Whereas if you would give out tokens, you probably generate more revenue.
Why?
And, well, this trading fees, right? It's direct.
Yeah. I mean, it's inflationary. It also, I think yeah, we could do that. I think that's
it's just an idea, right?
Yeah. I think if you give tokens, it's just gonna be often paying in tokens is a worse UX user experience. So I don't know if that's what you were suggesting. You know,
Yeah.
the user, because the fees are denominated in USDC, and then Refer gets like mangoes or something, and it has to be purchased or maybe just generated from the DAO, given from the DAO. I think it's a little bit more complex, but yeah. Again, like this is, I'm almost seeing everything we're doing on V3, I'm almost seeing it as like an experiment for how we will build things in V4. Because we're so limited on V3, you know, I'm like trying to cram everything into, you know, I have like 3 bytes here, I have 2 bytes there, and you know, we have a, yeah, I think maybe lock tokens is good too. Sorry?
Yeah, I think I don't really like the idea of giving Mango away. I think we need to start in general thinking a bit more about how we boost the like value prop of like if someone asks why should I hold MNGO, like why should I have Mango tokens? I feel like we don't have a great elevator pitch as it is right now. So let's not add to, like, we've got the market maker incentives pumping inflation out. Let's try not to make it worse in terms of like, oh, there's tons of supply. Like that's coming down the pipeline. Yeah, at some point, I mean, maybe now is not the best time, like, but at some point we need to think a bit more about boosting the case for holding Mango.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a self-sustaining ecosystem, and the locked tokens are here. I mean, we're voting on it now, and people have to have an incentive to lock. And I've been trying to think. I've been trying to think about like tax and legal issues about what this, you know, how the fees can be distributed. But obviously, you know, like this should just be like a DAO votes, DAO decisions. And you probably don't want to do it in a very dumb way where almost all the money just goes out in taxes. Some of it has to go out in taxes, but you know.
Does it? I mean, I guess the purest way to do it in terms of tax efficiency is to just buy back and burn tokens off the market.
Yeah,
which is like the equivalent of a stock buyback that's part of the market for the past 20 years.
The only issue, and again, like I'm going to be talking with tax lawyers like this week, so I want to understand it well. The buy and burns are super tax efficient. Only problem is we wanted to do this token locking for, you know, people with longer. So basically, if you do token locking, there's no real incentive. I mean, you get more power in the DAO, but yeah, like why should you token lock? You can just free ride on other people's, you know, influence in the DAO. And so that's why just some kind of distribution system that's also tax efficient. And maybe it is tax efficient. Like I just, you know, and like every jurisdiction has its rules. But I'm going to make a guess. I'm going to make an effort on that. And if not, I mean, we can always just do we can always just do buy and burns, or maybe buy and distribute might even be better. And then, you know, figure out like how to incentivize token locking more. But yeah, I agree. Like, I think like we're putting all the pieces together, and so it has to, the piece of like, why should you hold this thing, or why should you care about having power in the DAO is like a crucial piece that has to be filled in. Okay, so let's stay on track. So there was also this Galaxy treasure hunt, which I had a couple of questions about, but if Nick, you want to like say very briefly what it is?
Yeah. So yeah, me and Max have been working with them. They were originally an ETH project, but what they do is they organize scavenger hunts, which are like tasks across ecosystems. And they're starting one with Solana this week. And Mango is participating, and our task is you just create a Mango account, deposit $7 and trade $20 of perps or more. And then you're eligible to win a prize. Our prize is we're going to give $100 to 50 random people. And then if you do everyone's task for the whole ecosystem, then you get some grand prize NFT thing that they're handling. But what we can expect from it, previous campaigns they've run have had around 10,000 people complete the tasks. So if we can get anywhere near there, that'd be great. Like $5,000 for 10,000 new people Mango accounts is definitely a good deal. And in the stats dashboard, we already look like we have all-time high Mango accounts yesterday.
Wow.
Trading perps. So far so good. We'll see how it goes.
When you say all-time high trading perps, is that like new user or unique users or something?
Yes.
Like, do we have a?
So it was 456. I'm not positive that's all-time high, but it is the all-time high in this time frame on the graph.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it's definitely going up. So cool. Yeah. And like who verifies that they've done all these tasks? Is it Galaxy's going to do all the work?
They were supposed to, but they weren't
me.
able to integrate. Yeah, so Max is stepping up.
But I can't. I'm supposed to give out a list of eligible wallets. And I discussed with them like that my data methodology is sound, and they're happy to receive this list as a text file.
Okay.
So very, I can also post it publicly and people can verify it if they want. But yeah, basically I'll be sending a list and then they will pick random winners out of that. And those random winners will get some kind of NFT or something like that. So then the whole concept goes on, and I think it will be fun. I certainly think it will be fair also.
Cool. Yeah,
I
think we should just spread the news however we can. So sorry, there was a question.
How do you guys come up with the number of so they have to deposit 100 and trade $20 worth?
No, deposit 7, the lucky number 7, and $20 worth of trading. I think in general this attracts people who are with lower budget. So I wanted to make sure that the amount we asked them to deposit is way below the amount they can win. So the price is, I think, $50 or something like that, right? Or $100. It's $100 actually. So you kind of you deposit maybe 10, trade 2 times, and you have the chance to win $100.
Wag me. Is this something we can replicate in the future? Like, we wanted like Bybit and FTX, they do these things where you deposit a certain amount and you get a certain amount for how much you deposit. So let's say we can have people deposit $500. Maybe we give them $50 to trade with or something. Is this a similar thing?
I think the raffle is crucial because it prevents us from, like, the moment you automatically top up someone's balance, people can do this like automated, and we probably don't want to do that because we have no way to verify identity, unlike Bybit or Binance or FTX. They just check people's ID and they make sure that people with the same ID don't sign up twice. We don't have these technical measures, so I'd assume that we wouldn't be able to make sure we don't get ripped off on that. So that's why
Could we do it with a bigger number? Let's say we track it and go, okay, can have people trade $1,000 worth of volume, $10,000 worth of volume?
No. I mean, I'll be able to bot it, and I don't want to do something that I can bot. If I know how to extract value from it, I'll not run it, I think. And the raffle is you can bot to have a higher chance to win the raffle, but that's about it. And if you would do that, maybe we would notice. So there's still a chance for us to disqualify people at will, right? Because it's not a guaranteed bonus. It's a raffle, and you can just be unlucky. right? So there is a bit of, I would say, reservation here. Not saying that I want to, but in case we notice that someone is like, you know, trying to game the system, we probably need to have a second discussion before we send the results over. And happy to, right? Like I'll just publish the data and we'll make a decision together. But if everyone plays fair game, then it's just a raffle, and everything that is guaranteed is off the tables, I think.
Yeah. Cool. So maybe we can move on to liquidity. Yeah. Okay. So I think liquidity, I don't know what you guys think, but I think liquidity has gotten a lot better on Mango. For one, you know, I don't think I'm earning the majority of the Mango tokens anymore. I don't think I don't think I'm like, am I still the top? I don't know. I might be unseated by someone else. And that's a lot of that is due to Max and Stefan.
Well, Stefan is in Brazil right now. He actually got another client onboarded last night through excessive, you know, discussion over dinner. So his style is interesting. I spent some time with him. Maybe some ideas. So we have two new people who are working with us full time, Crusher and Klossy. They're really good in convincing people to integrate on Mango. Those people trade formally on centralized exchanges, so they use order books. They mainly trade derivatives. He's a Sir Crusher, the nickname, and so most of these traders use C# and C++. So we've been like, while we bring them on board, also writing small bots to try out these libraries and make sure that everything is working well. And we had some people get started within a weekend. Like some people are really energetic. In general, we expect most of them to take a month, which is a more realistic timeline, but some are like very aggressive and want to eat the mango pie. So that's what we're seeing already. I hope the month will continue like that. But yeah, big shout out to the guys, the Oak brothers, Hugo and Tiago. They did Solnet. They released version 1 with our input. And then also, I think there's someone new with us today who has been helping me on Sol CPP. Maybe you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, yeah.
Hey, Miles.
Yeah, I'm Miles. I'm a software engineer, and CPP is my favorite. So yeah, I saw the tweet, and I'll be putting a couple of PRs. So check them out.
Nice, welcome. Yeah, there's 2 clients for the CPP library so far that are like committed. It's kind of odd to do this like white glove customer service, but I think it also gave us a lot of like good credit in the ecosystem. As usually, right, bring the world to Solana so they can trade Mango Perp. It's our goal, and I think the current Sol CPP SDK can do 2 things. It can get fields and place perp orders, so slightly opinionated in the features I implemented. Yeah, and another thing, so everyone that is trading for a week, right, will experience eventually Solana TPS slowdown. And I think, yeah, Daffy, you saw this as well, and like we all saw it, right? Sometimes you can't cancel your order. It's the worst issue that people have seen so far. And apparently there is a special order type already known in finance for this problem. It's time and force. And yeah, maybe Daffy, you want to talk about it?
Yeah. So time and force was, I don't know if he's here on the call right now. This guy who goes by Arrowhead in the Discord. We had a chat and he was like, why don't you just do time and force? This was during the peak of like the TPS issues. And yeah, time in force actually solves the problem. So how time in force works is you will place I'm thinking of this is for market makers typically. You'll place an order and that order will expire. And so when that order expires, and you know, there's a, you can also make it so it doesn't expire, right? It's like the default is that it doesn't expire. And so after that time, even if someone trades against that order, you know, that order is basically invalid and it's removed from the order book. We realized we could implement it. Technically, it's not that challenging. I mean, I think we have to make sure all the, you know, T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. But technically, it's not that challenging. The difficult part, which is why initially I was thinking I'm not going to implement this because it is going to take like too much. Difficult part is that it changes when we implement it. It changes what the order book even means. Because currently the order book means like anything that's on the order book is an order that's valid. But in this new paradigm, there are like a bunch of orders on the order book. Some of them are valid, some of them are not valid. And so it's you know, it's sort of a breaking change. Some people's bots, I don't know if Wainu is like on the chat right now, but I know our bot will probably break. You know, our bot that arbs between Drift and Mango, it'll probably break. And it'll break if like we pushed it randomly, right? So a lot of the effort, and Klossy was a big fan of time and force, so he's gonna basically do this work. A lot of the effort is going to all the composers and all the people who are running trading bots and making sure that they understand that this is happening. This is not as big of a deal for people running trading bots because sometimes, you know, if you're running a trading bot from a client, like a bot that's not fully on chain, sometimes the order is just not there. When you try to trade, like there's a difference between the state that you have and the state that actually exists on chain. And so sometimes the order is just not there. So this is not that different than that. Invalid orders, you know, you might just think of them as orders that the market maker pulled. So that's the technical, you know, details of it. The reason why it's so important is that when there's a TPS storm or issue, which still happens, I don't know the percentages. You know, before it was happening like all the time. Now maybe it's like 10% of the time, or every once in a while you have a hiccup. Our bots, you know, if the price moves, you can be sitting there trying to cancel it for 30, 40 seconds. You know, I've seen like my market maker be trying to do that. And now you're safe. Basically, if you had a time in force of 5 seconds or 10 seconds, yeah, the order becomes invalid anyway. Market makers apparently really wanted this, according to Klossy. You know, he's talking to a lot of the market makers, and also according to, you know, that this solves all their problems. So that's why we're just going to go ahead with that. And there are some possible issues, you know, like during a TPS spike, you might have all the liquidity disappear because, you know, everything is time in force. Yeah, but that really, you know, we came down on the side of, okay, during TPS spikes, the only people benefiting are our bots, and there's no reason to like benefit them. And market makers can quote tighter if they know that they're safe during those TPS issues. Yeah, so that's like the time and force thing.
But how does it work in practice when you said that normally the book, I mean, so the orders don't actually get removed. They just have a different flag, which you have to kind of filter to determine whether or not they're valid orders.
Yeah, like when you iterate over the book, you just have to, well, you don't have to do it. I mean, if you just update like the clients that we publish, and the Rust code, then everything should just work just the same. But what we're doing is we're iterating over the book and saying if order is valid, then then treat it as an order. Otherwise, just ignore it.
So, but does that mean like there's no incentive then to be canceling the expired orders, right?
Oh yeah,
Like,
you don't
they
get
just
you don't
hang
get MNGR rewards if it expired, if the order expired, which is a slight benefit, or a slight slight reason why you should be canceling and replacing. But yeah, you're right. No, like you're right that you might have one thing is it still takes up a slot. Invalid orders take up a slot in your Mango account, and you only have 64 slots, and so you will run out. Eventually, you do have to cancel them. Yeah.
Is there more efficient to cancel all yet? I forget if that has like where. So if a market maker was in the situation where they're normally just letting stuff expire rather than cancel and replace, can they just wipe everything, clear all the slots in one?
When you say wipe everything, like when they do a cancel all, is that what you mean?
Yeah, like to just in one transaction to just cancel everything.
Yeah, like there's okay. First of all, I kind of question the premise because I don't think there's actually a benefit to leaving the orders up, because most market makers, I mean, if you look at most transactions that are going into Mango, they're of this form. They are the first instruction is cancel all, second instruction is place bid, third instruction is place ask. And so it is already happening in one transaction, and they're not paying anything extra for canceling those orders. And you should just cancel it because that's the only way you're going to get the MNGO rewards. So I questioned that. And then on the point of like, can they just wipe it all out? The thing is, there are in each instruction, there's like a compute limit. And if you have 60 orders, you're probably, you'll hit the compute limit. So you can only cancel up to the limit, which might be like 10. I don't know the exact number, but it's not 60. So.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Why don't you just cancel the expired orders inside this crank instruction? Or like, why do you even like leave them and make them invalid? Why not like auto cancel them at some point when they expire?
Let's see. Yeah, I think crank can do that. That's a good idea. Let's see. Well, the crank can do that, but the crank doesn't run like, it runs every few seconds, right? It's not instantaneous. And so you'll inevitably still have invalid orders on the book. I'm not sure there's that much reason to remove invalid orders. There's the issue of like, you get the book clogged up with these invalid orders. Christian has been working on a solution to that problem of the book fills up and then you have to boot some order. The current logic is you boot the lowest priced order. But we probably just want to boot like an invalid order first. So Christian has been working on working on that of making that efficient. But yeah, maybe the benefit of cranking it is that you don't end up in that situation as often.
Right, and like if you're doing any kind of calculations based on the order book, is there a way to differentiate between a valid order and an invalid one, so that it's not kind of deceptive?
If you're doing any kind of cancellations.
Sorry, calculations.
Calculations.
What I mean is like when you look at the order book, can you figure out which ones are valid, which ones are not valid?
Yes, so we'll update the clients so that that's possible. It's like a 2-line change. It's a if order. It's like one condition, like what's the current timestamp and what was the timestamp of the order plus the time in force. So if the current timestamp is greater than the order's timestamp plus the time in force, then it's an invalid order. So it's like a 1-line, filtering
And this timestamp, this is the client timestamp or the Mango server timestamp, or how do you make sure it's the same?
You can't. So the current timestamp would be like wherever you're trading from. So if you're trading from on chain, like some people have R bots that live on chain, that time will be the same as the time. That's the on chain time. That's the official time. Maybe you would have to look at like how close your timestamp is to like the on-chain time and do some kind of synchronization. But yeah, that's an issue. We can help with that.
Okay.
They should be close. So
cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
Let me look at the chat again. There's a canonical unchained Unix timestamp. Yep, that's right. Cancel all button. Yeah, I want to cancel all button too as well, but the implementation detail here is, so we have this orders tab, right? And it has all your orders, including spot and perp. And we have a cancel all button for perp, but we don't have one. Sorry, not button. We have a cancel all instruction for perps because it's part of Mango. But there isn't one for Serum Dex, which is the spot. So if you hit the cancel all button, it'll, like we could put this it'll look kind of ghetto. It'll just be like cancel all perp orders. But what we really need to do is implement a cancel all that works on both the spot and the perps. So yeah. Has time enforce been done in DeFi before? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, it will be done now, and then others will copy it as
it exists. I think there are some RFQ processes that are very similar, I think, in their nature. But not on I think not on an order book. Like I've only seen it for like RFQ, not for order books.
Yeah.
So just one thing actually, just going back to what you said about the order book having invalid orders. So when you get the order book from Mango, you don't actually see individual orders, right? You see the different levels, quantity, price. So if you have one level that's made up of some valid orders and some invalid orders, is there a way to kind of not have that confusion and like get what the actual valid amount or quantity is?
So I don't know what client you're using, but you actually do get all the, you get when in its rawest form, you get the whole order book fetched. And then some client implementation, maybe our TypeScript client, I don't know, will basically take it from an L3 to like an L2 book. It would just, aggregating the quantities on each price level. And if it's doing that, then it'll automatically do it correctly. But the point you made about like timestamps is a good one. And that's something we have been kind of trying to figure out, like what's the discrepancy between validator timestamp and client timestamp. I think it's small. I think it's less than a second. But, less than a second is a lot actually. So, but we know it's not outrageous.
Yeah.
But it can be outrageous. Like, when the network went down in September, the timestamps were off by like 8 hours, and I'm not sure why. If someone understands like the Solana runtime clock, I don't know if there's anyone on the chat who understands it, how it gets. Wait.
What if
the runtime clock actually, I think it's just an estimation. I'm not really sure it's measured, but there are these like weird code variables that like you see them in the Solana source code, at least in the client code, where they just say, oh yeah, at this slot we were at this timestamp, and from there it's kind of like this.
But why? I thought the implementation would only just be using slots and not trying to deal with timestamp stuff. Isn't that just as good if it's within?
No, well, okay. Slots have variable times. And also, I don't agree. I don't think that's true. I don't think it's like they're interpolating based on slots. I think Oracle, I think there's some kind of like Oracle type of thing where validators submit their timestamps as part of their vote. So, something along those lines. I don't think it's like just based on slot, but that would make sense why the
that's
September
it.
things. Yeah.
It's the Oracle thing. There's a bunch of people. Every validator submits their vote, and then I don't know if they do I think they do the median rather than the mean, and then they just go with that as the timestamp for each slot.
Yeah.
But I wonder if it would even make sense in the implementation to leave it only to slots, so that if you are utilizing this feature, you can kind of keep track of what the slot is now, like your own slot clock, and then just use that to say like, all right, I want this expire time to be slot +5 or whatever, and manage your risk that way instead of having to provide some timestamp and all that.
Yeah, it could be slots. We typically don't use slots, but yeah.
It's like when you use slots, some of the math becomes unclear. I think for like, because you kind of want to, you want to like decide like how long your order is on the book, right? On the client side. And if you use slots during TPS issues, it's gonna time warp. Usually a slot is like 600 milliseconds, or 500, but during TPS issues, it becomes 750. So it's like exactly at that time, we have the issue that the slots aren't so well correlated. I think
it can also be hard. Sorry, it can also be hard to know what slot you're at right now, because RPCs can fall behind by, a few slots very often.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you would probably say like a slot delta from whenever it lands, but you could say it's only valid for one slot or the current slot. And that could be maybe like a nice thing that people want to use. 1 slot, 2 slots, but I think it's not practical. Yeah.
As it turns out, I don't think I have space on the leaf node on the order to. We already had timestamp of the order recorded, and I had there was 1 byte left, and that's where we're putting the time in force value, but I don't think we have space to add slot of the order as well. So, I mean, that settles the discussion. So, yeah.
What's it measured in, if it's only 1 byte?
Seconds.
Okay.
So I guess you can do up to 255 seconds time in force. That's the limit. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. I know we want to get to the treasury, but this is also kind of important on the topic of liquidity. I wish Klossy was here, but there's a lot of debate going on about how much we should be helping market makers versus how much support should we give to the market makers. Now, I think at 17 cents and the current MNGO distribution, which is right now it's 37 million per year. And it was 47 million like a few weeks ago. And we had some votes and like reduced, turned it to 0 for like the not very popular pairs like Ray perp and Serum perp. So, okay, it's 37 million mangoes per year. It was never intended to be permanent. And also it goes up as the Mango token price goes up, right? So because it's in the native token. So Klossy and I sort of thought, okay, like that's about $6 million at current prices. So maybe like weekly, we just adjust the MNGO rewards so that it matches $6 million. And he said he'll do that. He'll do the governance proposals. So yeah, that's something that like, do we keep it? I mean, he mentioned, other companies are, the centralized exchanges do more than that, but not that much more in terms of liquidity incentives. Yeah, so is 6 million a reasonable number? Should we just take it down to 0? We also have, the other thing, which is think about all the support being given to market makers right now, which is the massive maker rebate. Right now it's 4 bips, which is like the highest ever in like any exchange, which, there's votes now to take it down to 3 bips. There is the 37 million mangoes per year. There's all the dev time to like build, the CPP library, the C# library, Klossy and Crusher, those guys are talking to all these devs, all these market makers all the time. All right, you got him? Is it Jojo? I think it's Jojo.
Yeah, I got him.
Nice. Executed, terminated. Cool. So the executions will continue. Yeah, so what was I saying? The MNGO rewards, the maker rebate, all this dev time to get them on board. What's the acceptable, long-term? In my opinion, all of the market maker stuff was supposed to be temporary. I know we got like a little bit hobbled and distracted because of issues beyond our control. And I think we could continue the MNGO rewards for a bit. They're apparently very popular. But I'm more inclined to like shift the resources to make like deals with people. Although the liquidity on the books have been pretty good. So
maybe some color also there. I think what we probably want is to stay really open. I think what we understand is that some of the things we could do have a cutoff. So our current system is linear. Like the more you bid, right, the more mango you get, kind of like it's like even the person who sends one limit order a month, they still get MNGO rewards, right?
Yeah.
And so one scheme that we could do in rewards would be that we have a cutoff. You need to have at least, I don't know, you at least need to be in the top 20, right? Or the top 100 or whatever we want, but that removes a huge long tail. And so we focus on the people that contribute the most. I think that's something we didn't do yet because those things are inherently difficult on chain. They're possible if we think they work really well, we can like sit down and implement them. But I think what makes a lot of sense is that we maybe have a period now where we use just our data that we collect about the market off chain to incentivize people and not do everything fully on chain. And then once we figure out what really works, we sit down and automate it. Because I feel there's like a lot of benefit in being able to try something on a weekly basis, given how, I mean, we were iterating really fast on a smart contract so far, but now there's, for instance, the problem that we don't have space anymore. Or if I want to add a new field to the perp market, not possible. All the liquidity mining fields are gone. So we hit a wall with that approach, I think. And instead of saying, hey, we're going to re-engineer the smart contract or do a liquidity migration, let's pull back our technical ambitions, right? Let's reduce maybe Our technical ambitions try to still achieve what we set to do, which is to make the best exchange possible, right? And let's honor our values of being fair, right? And verifiable, at least. I think that's these two things, in my opinion, are easy to guarantee, even if we don't work fully on chain. But it gives us I think it's an intermediate step still towards other projects that are saying, hey, we're going to sell off 20% of the exchange in a seed round to a market maker. We don't even know if they do the work or not. I think for us, it's more valuable to see who does the work and then reward those people who actually do the work that we need to be done, right? So I think the principle kind of, right, like always guided by proof of work. Also here, rewards are distributed to people who are actually useful, right? And they're used more scarcely, maybe, through that, right? Not everyone will get them anymore, but at least the people who are really valuable to our success.
Just to respond on the, like, I think initially when building the liquidity mining, I had this vision in my head of, isn't it amazing that, so, you know, you look at the liquidity mining programs, you look at the DMMs, DMM programs and all the other, and all the centralized exchanges on DYDX, and you see basically this structure of, we'll pick like 5 people, or, you know, we'll pick like the people who make $100 million in volume, and those guys will get almost all the rewards. But in Mango, like, you can just place an order and you'll see your Mango rewards tick up. And so it's open to literally everyone, right? That was cool. In practice, I'm not sure that has been that useful, because I think, I don't know, it's really hard to tell. Like, the goal was to convert those types of people, and, you know, get them up to speed within some time, get them interested in market making, and do it at a reasonable scale. But it has to be done at a reasonable scale. People placing like $10 orders on the book it's just not even profitable for them. I mean, the gas fees will eat you up. You can't do that.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to mention that I'm actually kind of one of those people. So I started with like $10 or something, and then scaled to like 1,000. Now it's like 20,000, and this is like in a span of a month. And the main thing for me was that, you know, there was no gatekeeping, or you know, like you don't just reward like top 20 market makers or people with huge capital.
Yeah.
So I would say that it is working, and it would be pretty sad if you kind of take that away.
Yeah. So it is.
That's very valuable.
Yeah.
I have another idea here. So if we don't do these like capped incentives, another one we discussed was to just shift the current mechanic from, instead of rewarding cancel and fill the same way, what if a fill would be 100 times more valuable in rewards than a canceled order? So you're still, if there's a period, let's say an hour, right, where there's no fills, you would still get the same rewards. But if there's a period where there is some fills and some non-fills, the people who get filled get, you know, over proportionally rewarded versus the people who don't get filled.
Yeah, no, we should reward fills. Like, I want to be clear on that. So first of all, I think Adam, I mean, thanks for mentioning that, because it's hard to know, you know, who's benefiting and who are all the people. I mean, we see the big market maker accounts, and it's just unclear if the liquidity mining has brought in people who started off with less money and kind of worked up. So that's good to know. But I also want to be clear on the point about, like, it is totally a compromise that we made to reward cancels. That was just like, you know, just saying, okay, you know, ideally I would like to reward fills, but we can't ever have the fees go negative. But maybe, you know, all of this stuff that we're talking about is not going to happen in V3. but for the next version, maybe we can reward them with locked tokens or some kind of way so that the fees are not negative. The thing I don't like about like the liquidity mining as it is right now is, there is already a large rebate, and we're going to implement time and force. It's going to make things a little bit easier. A lot of the people receiving the Mango rewards, like I want them to be, providing liquidity when it's hard, providing liquidity, not just trying to game the system to like, get like the maximum rewards and then take the least amount of risk. Designing mechanisms to do this is possible. We can definitely approximately get to mechanisms that are good, but it's very hard. And, just having like people who are long-term aligned with Mango doing it might be better. People like you have to spend a lot of time to design a mechanism to get the correct behavior. Otherwise, you're just giving a bunch of mangoes out to like people who will just dump. They're here today, and then they won't even quote during like TPS issues. They won't quote during volatility. Yeah. So that's what I don't like. I see like just farm it and dump it, and I wonder if they provided value proportional to how much they're getting, that's all fair and good, obviously. But yeah, I just wonder if they do.
Why don't you have like for the mangoes that you earn, the tokens, why don't you have like a lock period? So if you kind of opt in to lock the mangoes you earn from market making for, let's say, 1 month, then you get more than other people who didn't choose them. Another idea you mentioned is during like volatile, when the price is very volatile, maybe you can also reward more in those times.
Yeah.
Because normally you would just like switch off the bot during these times to avoid losses. But if you stick through it, then there should be a reward for them.
Yeah, I mean, this is something we can put into the next version. So I definitely think the question is more, okay, the question is more like this. It's like, if you go the Mango way of totally open, technical implementations, then that requires a different set of resource. Like you need more devs and that kind of thing to build it out, and just more time. Obviously, and it can't happen in V3. It can only happen in V4. If you go a different way of making some kind of DMM agreement or backstop liquidity agreements, then you spend resources in a different way and you have a different set of challenges. So that's like the trade-off.
Someone commented that there should be like a spread present at a certain uptime. Yeah, I'm actually trying to gather that data. This is one of the hardest data to get because you kind of need to like track everything going in and out. And but we just made an upgrade to our data collection that will be able to analyze the uptime of individual traders. So it's something we're closely looking at. It's just incredibly difficult to measure in a trustless manner.
Yeah, I don't think. What if we just did a hybrid? You could do a hybrid situation where, say, the DAO delegates to like two different teams, two different companies or teams, to measure the performance. Basically, you set a rubric, right? And then see if they match. This is just to keep like one guy from just see if they match. You could also just do it with one person if you trust that person enough. And I think that could be it would be more flexible, and also it would be totally open. So it would just, you would just have, you know, I don't think you'll need to say, okay, you have to do 100 million in volume or anything like that. I think you can just say, these are the rules, and you know, we have a tool. We'll just have a tool that monitors on chain. Maybe even like random interval, you know, random interval checks, stuff like that. Maybe like a
Yeah, I think like it's one of the I think hardest things and problems in Mango is like setting up these things that they're open. I hear you, Adam, when you say this is like one of the special things about it, and I completely agree. That's why we have these calls, right, to discuss and like feel a bit where people are. But yeah, I think the goal needs to be that the rewards are just and the rewards are sticky, kind of. And I feel our current reward system is not very sticky, and it doesn't necessarily like stifle enough activity as we wish. And we know that there are other ways that are supposedly working really, really well, or we've seen in other places. So it's kind of like, you know, I think it needs a lot of thinking, and if you have good ideas and like input and ideas what we can do instead, open to read every proposal and see how we can incorporate it in our work. No.
Yeah. It's not the, does anyone know how much like DYDX is spending on liquidity mining? Like roughly?
I think at least 20% of the cap table.
I think it's probably more than that, right? Anyone have any idea, like rough idea? Yeah, even like, okay, so I'm reading the chat. If you're trying to MM with $1,000, I actually don't think it's going to be profitable, unless you're doing some very low frequency strategy where, yeah, maybe you're placing deeper in the book, and that's certainly possible. But because of the gas fees, I almost would recommend you do this on Investin or something, so you can pool capital with other people. You still pay the same gas fees, but now you're multiplying your gains. What is this Metabase?
I think it's just a friend of Henry or something.
I think the Metabase is the link to DYDX metrics if you want to look at the fees period. But yeah.
The fees yeah, all those fees go to DYDX Corporation. Trading rewards. Yeah, this is hard to. I just want to know like how much they're paying. How much DYDX?
So LP rewards is 7.5% of the total supply. They say initial supply, yeah.
That's not a lot.
Yeah, but there's also trading rewards, which is 25%, and I think trading rewards incentivize taker and open interest. And you know, open interest also happens as a market maker. So and you will take a little bit at the end, right, to make sure, like the formula has to.
I think fees are a part of the formula as well. So yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to add, just for reference, as like, I think it's whatever we're doing on the MNG rewards is not outrageous. So there's like no cause for concern. But obviously, my only thing is, I see it as a DAO, and there's, or like, sorry, of course it's a DAO, but I see it as like a group of friends. And some people are not so friends. They're just here to grab dollars. They're interested in dollars. Some people are interested in mangoes, and you know, those people should have a lot of mangoes.
Yeah, I think that's a nice summary. Yeah, but when we see people farm mango and immediately dump it, it's kind of like sad to see, I think. Because I don't know who would make like all this effort in integration and then to not keep it. But we also hear very interesting answers. I hope we can like either we need to change the way we give it out, or we educate more that this is just the beginning of a project, right? And of course there won't be mango rewards forever, and we could give USDC rewards right now if we want to, right? There's no reason for us to give up something so precious in voting power, especially, right? I think a lot of people underestimated what it means to the people running the project, and how aggressive we actually are in like the long-term prospect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so should we move on?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about infrastructure for traders, because it's also like it's not fully fledged out, but basically we noticed there is an infrastructure problem in the Tokyo region regarding Solana availability in general. We have done basically the analysis. We want to figure out where in the world does Solana reach and where doesn't it reach, and where in the world should it reach in order for Mango to have great spreads. And the most important part is for us, Binance and FTX, and those are in Tokyo. So yeah, Viggy is saying it. We're getting a note. Are you getting a note, Viggy? That would be really nice. Nice. Yeah, I think we want a community node there. Something where we can like figure out, run a nice node. If you want to collaborate on that, please DM me.
You have 150K Solana?
That's nice. Yeah.
Do you want to explain the 150K, or is that like, yeah?
I mean, yeah, top 200. So there's a line in the code of the leader. Basically, the leader will send only to the top 200 nodes, which roughly correlates with having 150K staked Solana. And so whoever stakes 150K Sol in their validator gets the first notification from the leader. And then there is, I would say, a second level of latency. This is when you're the leader yourself. So you can think about it. Lowest latency, you're the leader, you have the data. Zero latency, great. You'll be the leader according to how much you stake in comparison to the rest of the cluster. So I think it's like 500 million Sol or something like that at stake. Like, it's quite a lot, so it will be hard to get a share of that. The next level is the top 200, so that's 150K, and then every other validator afterwards only gets notified afterwards, and those then usually send it to the RPC nodes. So we're currently a few hops away, and we want a validator in Tokyo, so it would be great for the community to form around it. We're taking care of the technology, but if someone is experienced or worked with MonkeyDAO on the staking contract, something like that, right? There's a little bit of on-chain stuff to set up and UI maybe to build, etc. But we're really cool if we can do this as a community.
Yeah. So we have to set up a Mango validator, and then we have to get I think at least 150K. I mean, the more we get, like the more the better. The more often we're the leader. And
I think we should get 50 million. I think that's more like, it's a inspirational goal, but I personally I'll try to get us that much.
50 million Sol.
Yeah, 50 million Sol. Yeah, I think it's very interesting, because then we would have maybe like 10% of the stake, and so we're the leader most of the time to some extent, and we can make sure that people who trade with Mango have equal access to that, rather than certain trading firms dominating the latency game. And so there's a certain amount of MEV protection that comes from that, from us having a really big stake.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bill, right? It's just like you're already staking that somewhere, and it should be nice if it was staked in the Mango. Yeah, I like it. That's a good goal. I think, yeah, you want to be competitive with like all the big holders, like, you know, big holder trading firms, Alameda, Jump, and
yeah. So in case anyone here knows people who have, yeah, it's 50 million Sol, not 50 million USD of Sol, exactly. So, so I value your contribution. I'm sure it will bring us closer to it. Yeah, I think you should think about it more in pre-sale prices. You know, I think the people we should reach out to about this are the people who didn't buy Sol at $100, but below $1. And so, yeah, there's a lot of them, right? It's always the problem of the ecosystem, but I think it can also be the advantage that this time the waves are a bit shorter and it's a bit more about like personal connections than, and there's an element here of goodness, because I think from all the projects on Solana, we always try to bring as many people as possible to Solana, right? We try to bring the outside world to trade on Solana, and in our current endeavors in onboarding traders. We're writing new client libraries, right? Like we were actively pushing the decentralization, and there are actual network issues for people connecting from Asia, and there shouldn't be. And this can only be solved if there's considerable stake in Asia, and we're happy to take care of the infrastructure problems and make it happen, right? And people who like this goal and have the Sol available should help us. That's at least my point of view. So I don't think it's unrealistic. I just think it's the right size we need to ask for.
Yeah. That will help kind of cement. We don't have to worry as much, I think, about MEV types of things. The Mango validator can be, you know, much more transparent. It can privilege Mango traders, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I mean, the specific problem, okay, like there's the long-term, you know, there's a goal of 50 million Sol that we want to acquire. But we could probably just crowdsource between all of us on this chat 150K, and 150K is important because it'll put us within the top 200 nodes, top 200 validator nodes, and so it'll reduce one more hop, and each hop could add up to 400 milliseconds, because each hop on the, you know, from the time the leader processes the transaction to like when you hear about the transaction on your RPC node, it could be a long time, and then you're not hearing about your fill events for that time. And so if you're not hearing about it for like, I think Christian did some some benchmarking on this and collecting data. I think he said something like 1.6 seconds was the average between.
We've better data now, right? I was using the block time as reference, but Brian has looked at his leader, and it looks like for nodes that are close to a leader, it's around 300 milliseconds or so. But for Tokyo, it oscillates much more.
Okay.
So just time from the leader has a frozen block to the RPC node has a frozen block. So like a one-hop jump looks like that.
Yeah, I don't know the details of why you talk about the frozen block so much, but
it's just when it's done, when the node is done processing.
Okay. Okay. So okay, wow, 300 milliseconds. Is that true? What?
Let's look at it more. It's in Brian's data table. We can.
Which
I think
Brian?
it's preliminary data. Just looking at a few slots. It's not a long-term evaluation.
Okay. Well, so we'll take a look at that. So 300 milliseconds is not bad. I would certainly be willing to run like spread strategies on 300 milliseconds. So it's not terrible. And I don't know actually what setup he had. So maybe it's like more than a second if you are, you know, it's more than a second if you are not near other validators. Yeah, well, we can talk about that, but again, doesn't hurt to have a Mango validator that's in the top 200, can only help. Yeah, we do still have like one more agenda item, which I guess maybe 2 agenda items, but the Treasury. I don't know if you guys looked at this. I don't know if Brian's on the chat. Is he on the chat? Brian S. There's a lot of Brian's now. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. I mean, I think like, you know, this has been like brewing in the background for a long time. There's been a lot of debate around what the like appropriate way to allocate this is. And so whatever, this is just a summary of the topics. I think there's like very fair arguments to both sides for much of this. I think the things that are most compelling is there's 2 allocations that would directly help Mango liquidity, which is, you know, a bot that quotes Backstop Liquidity at very wide spreads. And so this would be an event where like there's huge wicks because either volatility or TPS issues or something like this. And Mango would profit from that, as well as providing liquidity. And then also loans to market makers, which is like semi under collateralized and like a delegated account. And this would allow them to use that capital for market making on Mango, as we've discussed, as well as they would withdraw some of it to use for other purposes, which would be, you know, profitable for them. And so it'd be like a carrot and stick kind of way to bring people into Mango. So I think those are like undoubtedly good, but they're also not very capital consumptive. And that will always keep in just like unallocated safe reserves. And so the question is like, that leaves, you know, maybe 40 or 50 million bucks that we can decide what to do. But like, when you think about like what returns could be, and like Mango costs maybe 8 million bucks a year max to run, like that's, you know, returns on 50 million or whatever, like it could be a meaningful contributor to like the operating expenses of Mango. And so I don't know, I think it makes sense just to decide once and for all on kind of what we want to do. Unfortunately, some of these like require technical implementation, whether it's like the delegated accounts for market makers or the market making bot that quotes Backstop Liquidity. So like that stuff isn't immediately implementable, but I think if there's a consensus that we should do that, then, you know, that will be more of a directive to kind of build out that infrastructure. But I mean, happy to answer any questions or anything.
Yeah, do you know roughly what's the yield? Like, did you look into what's the yield on-chain USDC lending?
Right now, it's like 3 to 4%. I mean, now that the market is like getting a little hotter, I mean, it was dead for a while. And then the APYs quoted by Solend and all those guys are like bullshit. Like the actual achievable yield on chain is, I mean, not super attractive, but it should be at least 3%.
Yeah, that's why like, okay, so here's, I don't know if are you guys looking at this? Let me, I'm gonna share it again because it was buried in the chat. So of these options, okay, I'm sold on Solana. I think you should probably have some Sol, and of course it'll just help with, there's a lot of expenses that we have, you know, in Sol terms, right? Like even deploying new markets and running the keepers, all that stuff. So, yeah, we have Sol liabilities, constant, so might as well at least have some Sol in assets. So it's not as risky as like buying it to hope the price goes up. Also Bitcoin, I think it makes some sense, like just as a savings thing. It's again, but it's correlated with crypto, so maybe a little bit less in Bitcoin. In my ideal world, I mean, we would all just be trading in Satoshis, but there's a lot of dollar appreciators in the chat. A lot of people who haven't given up on the Imperial Ponzi coin. But until that happens, yeah, we probably shouldn't have too much in Bitcoin. The market maker loans and under collateralized loans to market makers, I'm not sure is necessary right now. And I don't know, I just feel bad about it. Like we're giving, like these guys just get so much money, they just get so much stuff. They just get unbelievable, like maybe I should just quit and become a market maker. Like if we just give them everything, I don't know. obviously, my emotions shouldn't be like guiding all of this, but the perp market maker as a backstop is cool. It depends on if you want to do it like trustless or not. I don't think a backstop liquidity provider needs to be, it's not super secret strategy or anything. It's just like someone needs to run it, pay the SOL fees. Now, like the question is like, who should run it? Is it even necessary really? Is it going to be profitable? I don't know.
Oh no, I'm not trolling. One of the main guys is like, I think you're funny. But my name's Viggy. Yeah,
I don't know if you...
Viggy aliens.
All right.
I was just
I don't
thinking
think he
about
intends. Can you just mute him for? I don't think he's intending to speak. Yeah, it's okay. He doesn't need to be executed. Yeah, so I'm sold on the, okay, like we can do SOL and BTC, right? Like, I think putting 10% in SOL, 10% in B, or maybe 15% in SOL, 10% in BTC makes some sense for sure. We should just do it. I don't know if we even need, like, that's a decent amount of money. If you just want to do like an OTC type of
yeah, so there are ways to get it. I mean,
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we can get it. I think probably best work with Friction. They have this internal tool to swap large amounts of tokens with market makers. I think we should get something like a 100 BPS spread on it. It's not ideal, but if we really want to, I think technical integration here, completely possible. Just takes time. If we tell them, hey, we want to swap like $10 million, they'll make it. That it works from the governance. They also gave a grant for it in case anyone is like competing in a hackathon. There's a doc with like these things that I linked below, and there's a contact for the Friction team. They mentioned this to me. Maybe about backstop liquidity, because there was some questions about that. Backstop liquidity means we have a market maker that runs with very wide spreads that are insanely profitable, but most likely never get hit until they get hit. So you think of this as like a black swan event, or at least an extreme high volatility event when there's really no one on the book anymore, because most of the market makers get liquidated actually. That can happen. And so if the people running the market making get liquidated on Mango, who's market making, right? And so for that purpose, specifically, someone that is just quoting something so liquidations can continue. And exactly, yeah, you see Liam, yeah, 15x is normal. We recently had a market maker get stopped out on his leverage and liquidated. We see that when people have these issues, and please reach out. We're happy to help with integrations and make sure people have adequate risk management in place. But one way to manage the risk for the rest of the users of Mango, especially the depositors, is that liquidations can function orderly. And in order for that to happen, there needs to be liquidity on the books at all times, unfortunately, because even liquidators can get liquidated. That's how bad it can be on one day. And I think that's maybe something that like most people aren't aware of. So there is a risk here, fundamental risk to the exchange that we can solve. If it will be profitable, the thing is with the backstop liquidity provider, it's usually delta neutral until it is not, because it's active and it gets hit. And that's usually the absolute bottom. And that's the perfect time to buy. Like, I mean, the backstop liquidity provider really only gets hit when the book is empty, which is already after.
The question is like, if it's profitable, why isn't someone else doing it? Is the
of course. But
also it costs gas to just
it's exactly cost of gas and cost of liquidity, right? You need to park liquidity for a very long time. And it might underperform other ways, right? So I think what is written here, allocation, timing, yeah, 5 to 15% returns. I think that sounds about right? Like we will have one of those events once a year, and we'll probably earn like 5% or on that particular day, just from like going long Bitcoin at the absolute bottom of the market by providing the service.
I guess I'm worried about it being like a distraction on. Well, it's not a distraction. It's kind of cool. I mean, it's interesting. But I think it requires some work to make. So I'll just say on the lending part, I'm not even sure with like 3% yields. I'm not sure it's even, given the smart contract risk, I wouldn't say it's extremely low risk of principal loss, because I think people change the code as well. The code is, they might already have bugs. There's a lot more attention on Solana now in terms of bugs. So a little bit averse. Maybe we throw like 10 million in there. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think lending is like easily the least compelling option, right? Because it's correlated with all the issues that Mango is worried about, right? Which is like downtime that creates like massive liquidation cascades and socialized losses, like code exploits that haven't been discovered, the returns are not very good, like all of that stuff. So like it's a decent way if we want to stay in stables and earn some return, but it's like hard to say it's like a very compelling return versus like non-correlated like market maker loans or just owning SOL and BTC.
Yeah.
Or doing stuff that like actually is on Mango and like helping liquidity.
Yeah.
How do we think about a venture fund? Like investing in other projects?
I like it.
The few people asked about it actually.
Yeah.
I mean, how does the DAO, like without a legal entity, like, I mean, I've invested in dozens of these things. You always have to like sign something unless it's a proper decentralized sale like Mango. So that'll take us out of like 95% of the deals that are out there.
I think like you can own, the DAO can own locked tokens. The DAO can own like, I mean, you can't own like Facebook equity yet, but I don't think we're.
But I mean, if you sign the SAFT, like who's going to sign the SAFT? That's what I'm saying.
So maybe that kind of SAFT thing maybe isn't possible. I thought of some kind of thing like this. I talked to lawyers. Hard. It's hard to do. Maybe there's some jurisdiction that will allow it.
Yeah, like 9 out of 10 is kind of requiring this, like the real ones, not the shit deals.
Yeah.
I mean,
but why can't the real deals be done perfectly on chain?
Yeah, because the risk aversion of the founders, they want to do things in a particular legal way. But, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's the element of the on-chainness. So actually, I'm trying to figure out if there's not a side hole or like a loophole there. But yeah, I'm talking to a few lawyers about it. It seems to be stopping us from a bunch of deals when equity is the only option. Like sometimes I think there's like different structures, but usually it's more easy for us to, for instance, if we want to give money to a trader to own part of the legal entity, it can be easier from a financial regulatory standpoint. So they don't need to have the same regulation if they accept our money as an investment as if we would lend it to them. And so exactly, so probably we need some like special purpose vehicle or something like that can hold all this entity but is controlled by the DAO. And I think it's possible, to be honest. It should pretty much be like just an offshore foundation. And we need to find a lawyer that understands this part well enough or is willing to set up the control structures for it. So I think it's I wouldn't say it's a no-go. I just think we might be the first ones to really do it well. with legal framework. And it's not the first time that the DAOs have acted in meat space if they need to. So it's clearly like has not been a lot of the interest of people, but I can see how it's very beneficial for us to align incentives with the people trading on Mango that are, have been supporting us, have been coming to these meetings, have been like contributing advice on Discord, giving support to different people. I think those things are actually really valuable work. They're valued members of the community, and we'd like them to continue doing that in the future. So we'd like them to have Mango, but we also would like to have some of their equity. I at least can see that. I see a few candidates for this kind of decision, and I just feel but maybe if I have like a month more to figure out the details, we can move forward on this. It's just, as everything legal always takes time. Meetings are 2 weeks in advance scheduled, and experts are scarce, especially as it's a very new kind of deal.
Here's the argument against it, which is if we don't spend too much time thinking about it, I think it's fine. But if we are just all like the goal primarily should be, in my opinion, what we are doing best, which is making this central, like one-stop shop for borrowing, lending, trading, and things that extend from that. So if you are like randomly like, oh, this NFT is cool, let's buy this NFT, or this, that's all great. People should put up their votes to do stuff like that. But I'm afraid of that kind of thing, like infiltrating all of us, like the main devs. I don't think it'll happen, but so something to keep in mind. Don't want to be distracted. Like there's something we do well, and it's probably not picking great VC investments yet. But something like Investin, for example, where there's, if you can buy a bunch of their token and maybe change how their governance works. Oh yeah, generally like buying tokens, governance tokens, and then using that power to do things. I'm bullish on.
I feel like it could get super political too. Like that's my the distraction combined with like political of like teams like you're working with in Discord, like asking for investment and stuff like that, and like teams that we've invested in, like are they getting more help to integrate than others? And like it could just like really spiral, and like money is so abundant in Solana. Like good projects don't need Mango's money, and so like I feel like there's definitely like a compelling case on paper, but like in practice, like we're so resource constrained that like all of the distractive elements here.
Yeah, I mean, there is that point of, like when you have money, like when you feed the dogs, like you get a lot more dogs. When you pay the Dane Geld, you get a lot more Danes. The very similar kind of principle that you'll just get a lot of that. Even if we don't intend to be distracted, we'll have like people shouting hentai, we'll have people shouting like, buy my scam token.
Yeah, I mean, it's like token listings, right?
But there is like the secret plan. I don't know if I want to reveal it on a recorded call. Anyway, maybe
pause the recording.
I don't know. People are always recording. But there is like this idea of actually pause recording.